Welcome to Dynamic Destiny. I'm your host, Coach Pete Cafarcio. I love to help people discover their life purpose and make a positive impact in the world. Whether you have a global dream or just want to make a difference in your corner of the world, we'll help you get clarity on your calling and give you practical tools to get unstuck and accelerate your goals. Join me for this episode of Dynamic Destiny. Welcome. Hey, my friends. This is Coach Pete coming to you from New York City. I'm so glad you tuned in. Hey, on our last episode, which was the importance of owning your talents, I got a lot of response from our listeners, more than I thought. And I wanted to build on that. And so I brought in a guest today that you'll meet in a moment. And today we're going to talk about not just embracing your talents, but how to overcome that false humility and how to promote yourself, but not in a way that's outside of way outside your comfort zone, right? We don't want to turn you into like a hype machine, but this seems to be a stumbling block for a lot of people. So I brought in someone who's an expert. We're going to talk about that. But first, here's our quote for the day. When you learn how much you're worth, you'll stop giving other people discounts. I love that. When you learn how much you're worth, you'll stop giving other people discounts. And that's what we want, folks. We want you to realize your worth and to be compensated for that, like in either with time or money or whatever. So you're not selling yourself short. Okay, well, I want to introduce you to my guest. And our guest today is Rick Diana. And Rick and I met actually in a professional setting back when I was working in New Jersey. We were in the greater Morristown area. And the first time I met Rick, like you don't meet Rick, you experience Rick. And he is just a ball of positive energy. And, I think another thing too with Rick is he's just so generous. You get it right away. He's so willing to introduce you to other people, to find out more about you. He just naturally loves people. And Rick is a consummate networker. He's very, very good at. I have learned a lot from him personally, and you can too. So as you're listening to Rick's wisdom today, I don't want you to compare yourself to Rick. What I want you to do is learn from him because he's got a lot that you can benefit from. Rick calls himself, his title is actually a talent agent, but he does this for white collar professionals. He represents high performing business people in a variety of industries. His company, Trinitas Talent Management, provides PR, brand marketing, and recruitment services for superior professionals who need a talent scout. And so Rick helps people maximize their own existing networks, galvanize their brand, and activate opportunities that might be hidden to the naked eye. So Rick, welcome to Dynamic Destiny.
Coach Pete, great to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Sure. It's great to have you. Rick, you were a person that kind of naturally came to my mind when I was thinking about this. So, Rick, let's just jump right in. When it comes to the whole topic of like, quote unquote, selling yourself, some people they get shy, and I think they might have wrong mindsets or just be stuck. What are some things that people can do to start engaging in order to let people know about their talents? And really, it's not just for self-promotion.
Self-aggrandizement.
There you go.
Trying to say.
It's really so you can bring your value to other people. Like you could be sitting on this big clump of talent and competency, but if you're not plugged into the right opportunities, it's kind of going to waste. And that's really, I honestly believe, Rick, that there's a responsibility on you, on every individual as a person of talent, which is everybody who's listening. You all have talent. It's partly your responsibility to get yourself lined up into opportunities where you can bring your best work instead of just kind of like sitting on your hands and hoping you get discovered someday. So the problem is, sometimes you need a little push or a little bump to make that happen. So, Rick, what are some things people can do to help promote themselves without like becoming like used car salesmen, right?
Pete, I think there's one person that we can take a look at. He just won his seventh Super Bowl, Tom Brady.
Okay.
And whether you are a sports fan or not, most people plugged in, and most Americans know that he's won more Super Bowls than, any player in the history of the game.
Yeah.
I've gotten to the point, as much as I hate the Patriots and was not rooting for Tampa Bay. He is the GOAT, the greatest of all time.
He is.
And if you watch him, you use the word responsibility. I think if you were to ask a lot of people about what makes Tom Brady so different is how responsible he is to himself, to his family, and to his teammates. And responsibility is really important. So now Tom Brady was out there, throwing the Lombardi trophy around and everything. I don't hear Tom Brady saying how great he is. He doesn't need to do that. He's got a performance record that's there. I believe every individual worth their weight has a performance record. Now, make no mistake about it. The performance record is not the resume. Most people think that's their performance record. But if I'm viewing your resume, I see that, okay, so you went to high school, you graduated from college, and these are the things that you did for others. That's nice. I don't really care. My radio, dial is tuned into WIFM radio. What's in it for me? I want to know how it is that you can take these skill sets that you have and make it work for me. Now, that takes work, that takes discipline, and you have to know what the listener or the person at the other side of the table really needs. And if you are truly engaged with somebody and are asking the right questions, and every question begins with who, what, when, where, why, and how, at that point, you'll have a response. And your response is likely to be nothing in your resume. It's going to be a story that you'll be able to tell. That reminds me of a project that I was on 2 years ago where we experienced that same situation. I'd love to tell you more about it.
Rick, I think you just uncovered something for me. For our listeners, if you're the kind of person who struggles and you just struggle with promoting yourself, here's a mindset shift that you can take. And Rick just hit on it. Stop thinking about it as promoting yourself and think about it that you're taking on the job of translating what you have to offer in the way that other person who needs your services in a way that they can hear it, that they can receive it. Like Rick said, what's in it for them? So you're not hyping beyond your own capabilities. You're just telling them, I can do this, and this is why it's valuable to you. Can you use it? And you can have an adult dialogue at that point.
I think it'll also take the pressure off to be selling or in sales, or I'm not a salesperson, by understanding, and I went through this earlier in my career. We were taught how to sell. I was in an organization where we were classically trained salespeople, right?
Okay.
But the bell went off 3 or 4 years into this, and I'm like, wait a minute, am I successful because I'm selling, or are people buying? Because people tend to buy from people that they like. Maybe I understood my product. I understood the application of the product. I still had to knock on the doors. I still had to make myself present, but there was a mind shift there that if you really want to take the next quantum leap in relationships, you have to understand what the other person needs. And if you do a good job of matching that up, they are likely to just buy from you or refer you or put you in a position for an opportunity to take a new job from someone in their own network, just because you laid it out on the table for them and you never really had to, again, sell yourself. It came across naturally.
Okay, so the product is you in this case, right? And I think that's right there is some people have a mental blockage with that, but you got to let's get realistic about this. Rick just said it. It's such an easier key. Instead of like selling or hyping yourself, instead communicate the value that you can bring in terms of what the other person needs. And you just said stories is a great way to do that.
But you do need to know, you need to have the self-assurance of those things that you do better than anybody. Yeah. You must. Now, I name my company Trinitas Talent Management for a reason. The first 3 letters of Trinitas, TRI, come from the word 3, right?
Right.
And
sure.
I believe that number 3 is that sort of number think about when someone gives you a proposal, whether it's one of these subconscious proposals that Geico is doing on TV,
Yeah.
or a personal wealth advisor comes to you. It's usually, I have option A, I have option B, and I have option C. It makes people think. There's a beautiful number. Pete, think about it. You and I have talked about this in the past. Think about second grade when teacher said, class, we're going to write our first essay. And I'm going to give you the format of that essay, or composition was the word I think I remembered back in the Bronx. Yeah, in the Bronx, my St. Clair's school in off Morris Park Avenue in the Bronx, and the nun said, this is what it's going to be. You have your introductory paragraph, and you have the three bodies, and you had your concluding paragraph. And so we're going to write what it is you want to ask Santa Claus for Christmas. So what it is that you want to ask your parents to ask Santa Claus for Christmas.
I want a Red Ryder BB gun.
Oh my gosh, it was easy. The first paragraph was easy. I want a Red Ryder BB gun. I got the movie reference, Peter.
Okay.
I got it. And it was easy to say that, and this is why I want it, okay? But nobody really cares, little kid, why you want it. I mean, I'm your mommy and daddy, but I want to hear why you feel you deserve it. So if you want to write a good composition, paragraph 2, paragraph 3, and paragraph, 2, 3, and 4 need to be what it is the Christmas season all about. It's a season of giving. So what you want to be able to do with those 3 paragraphs is demonstrate to Santa, right, as a second grader, or your parents, these are the things I did this year where I gave to others. So now when you've done that, you've demonstrated what you've done, then it's really easy to write that 5th paragraph, the concluding paragraph, the summary, because everything was there. But the work is in the middle 3 paragraphs. And so many people are unwilling to do the work with those middle 3 paragraphs. They have the elevator, but they really can't back it up. Now, how do you back that up? Back to my point, you have to know those 3 things that you do just about better than anybody in the world, right? Better than everybody. Well, listen, like I consider myself a power networker. Well, how do you define that? Well, Pete, if you needed my help, you can come to me anytime. Yeah. And mi casa is su casa. My network is your network. But one of the things I do very well is help others activate their own networks better than they can do it themselves. Well, that's pretty good, Rick. You're the best at that? Well, a little humble brag, right? I'm sure you can always find somebody who can jump higher or run faster, but you probably have to interview 99 people to find someone better than me. So I'm in the 99th percentile of that.
Hey,
I'm
Rick,
confident.
just a little tangent on that. I read a book by Seth Godin one time, and he talked about being the best in the world at what you do, and like disqualified, right? We all like immediately disqualify yourself. And he said, no, redefine this. The best in your world. Be the best in your world. What is your world? Is it a certain neighborhood? Is it a certain professional demographic? Is it just your, network of people? Do you stand out within your network of people? And are you continually trying to improve yourself so you can be the best to your world, the world you're trying to engage?
Well, I think that leads us to another topic just for a second.
Yeah, go for it.
About the communities that you're involved with, right? And everybody knows the communities that they're involved with. Who are the groups that you're in? And that's a good way to really get started if we get onto the topic of networking. But if you can now find 3 things that you're so confident that you do better than just about anybody else. When you took your, the testing in school, right? You're in the 99th percentile. That means that out of 100 people, there's only one person who can do it better than you. But out of 1 million people, there are like 100,000 who can do it better than you, right? If I did the math right. Yeah. But if you can find 3 things that you do just about anybody better than anybody, and don't make it about your job description, think about what it is within you that allowed you to be successful in that particular project. So now you've got 3 things, and this is an opportunity for you to reach out to your network and ask people, what do you think are the 3 things I do better than anybody else? And if you ask enough people, you're going to see such commonality. You're like, why didn't I do this sooner? They're going to give you the answers. If you take those 3 things and shake them up, that makes you the most interesting person in the world, and there's nobody quite like you. And to your point, Pete, you're God's gift, right?
Yeah. Rick, regular listeners to my show, I repeat that over and over again. In fact, I even made a handout. It's an exercise of a little tool. Hand this to your friends, ask them to fill out what are your top strengths. And I actually asked for 1 weakness. And pull them all together. And when you start to see patterns or commonalities, bam, this is what other people are telling you. You're exceptional. The thing is, you're so close to it that you might take it for granted. And sometimes we just need that outside perspective. All right.
Well, Pete, we live in a results oriented society, right? And the work is results oriented, and we know that. But I often challenge people to think, if you happen to be a baseball fan or maybe even football, there's something called a box score. And the box score basically summarizes what happened in that game. Who scored the points? In hockey, it could be the assists counts as 1 point and the goal counts as 2. How many minutes did the individual athlete play in that game, et cetera. But there's so much that happens in a game and an athletic contest that doesn't show up in the box score, that it's important to know that I did that, right? And our really good coaches are going to know that maybe it was a check that the hockey player, knocked the guy into the boards that freed up the hockey puck. That's not going to show up. But if he continually is a good checker, right? Or in baseball, when you back up one of the other infielders in case there's an errant throw, that doesn't show up in the box score. But those are things that people constantly do that they're not getting credit for because they're not asking for credit.
Yeah.
They're not
absolutely.
highlighting that. The appraisal is all about, so tell me, how many projects did you complete and did you do it under time and under budget? Yeah. But these are the reasons why I was able to, because I have a very good ability to bring people together.
Yeah.
I have a good ability to get people to see the hidden obstacles to completing that project. And so when I bring them out, people are like, yeah, I want to follow Mike because Mike, he has certain insights here. But again, when it comes to completing the project, that's not necessarily the thing that's highlighted.
So Rick, that is awesome. You're lighting me up. I got to tell you, I get really excited about this because FYI, Rick and I work together for some of our clients. I'll do more of like the prep work to get them ready to describe their value. And then Rick will really help them on their networking. But one of my favorite things to do when I talk to clients is pull these stories out of them. And I kind of have a nose for that too. And I'm like, wait a minute, you told me you did this, and then you told me this and this. And I'll start to see this value that they're sitting on that they're not really highlighting. And I'll go right in there, change your LinkedIn profile. I don't want to see this consummate professional who knows how to integrate business and technology for results oriented, blah, 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 blah. They're all the same. They all read the same. Put one sentence in there that highlights why you are different. I bring teams together, or, throw your curveballs at me. That energizes me, or whatever it is. Make it stand out, because that's what's important. The rest has to be in there. That's table stakes. Put that in your resume part. But if on your LinkedIn, your intro, make it stand out with what makes you, what makes you special. Why do I have to have a conversation with you?
Pete, I think that's a great idea. And you probably want to take out a sheet of paper and write some of those things that you probably would never put in writing. Like for instance, if it wasn't for me, this company would have gone bankrupt. Start there and write that one down, because you're not going to, in a professional environment, say that, but let's start there and then clean that up a little bit. It's sort of like when you have a conversation, you have the bubble of what you wish you would say, but it doesn't quite come out that way. Right? It matters how you say it, but thinking something and having it translated, for the person to hear it, there's got to be a connection there. So if you're lost on what it is, the value that you're bringing to the table, be honest with yourself. Write it down on a sheet of paper where no one else can see it, and then it boosts your confidence, if nothing else.
Get a sheet of paper, and what should they write down, Rick?
Well, I think based on your point before, let's look at your LinkedIn profile, right?
Okay.
Because the LinkedIn profile is now the business card of 1998, right?
Right.
And it also is like the Yellow Pages, right? So you can find somebody there. So obviously, when someone hits your LinkedIn profile, the first thing they're seeing is your photo. So we definitely want a smiling, vibrant photo. You really can tell a lot about people on that photo. Not so much like you have X-ray vision, but you, at least at that moment in time, did the person look happy? Did the person look confused? Did the person look like, why am I taking a photo to begin with? You could tell a lot. But under that photograph is what is it that you want the person to know about you? And this, a lot of technology people are saying, well, you're a digital transformational partner. I mean, there are 1,000 people that are saying out there, is that really what you think about yourself? Is that what you think other people want to hear?
Everyone is talented and exceptional in some way. And you have to do the work to highlight that, identify it, highlight it, and then be able to present it to people who need what you have. But it's incumbent on you to do that. Okay. One of the things, Rick, you and I were talking before the podcast, we were talking about mindsets that keep people from presenting themselves well. And one of the ones that I hear from other people, in fact, you'll even hear people say this: "Oh, do good work, and your record will speak for itself." I mean, why is that a limiting mindset for people?
If you could properly evaluate what you bring to the table, then you can go out and broadcast that to the world and take the highest bidder. So in other words, instead of the top-down approach of the corporation telling you what they need, how about you really understand what the market is, what the trends are, and how you can solve some problems and start branding yourself in a way that you could be construed more as a problem solver than as a job taker.
Yeah, right.
Now, I don't know if that answered your question.
Well, I think it in a big way it does. But this whole thing of my record speaks for itself. It does only if people can hear what your record is. Okay, you could have a great record, but if nobody knows about it, it's not going to speak anything. It's just going to be if you ever get your resume off to, and even then, guess what? Hiring managers really don't read resumes that well. They're looking for connections so they can shorten the process up. Okay. So it's great. I want you to have a great reputation. I want you to do good work. I want you to get results for people, but you have to be able to present that again in a way that makes sense to the person who needs your services. Like, how do you draw attention to what you're doing without sounding like hype and bragging?
So first of all, when you got the big win, you definitely need to, and I'll use the word exploit it. That's the time to stand up. But one way to do it is, very rarely do we accomplish things without anyone else's help.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say you accomplished a project, whether you're an individual contributor or you've got a team of 25, there was a core group of people who made success happen. So think about, once the project is done, before you get the congratulations, as the leader, you want to congratulate folks and let everyone know that this project would not have happened if not for Sally, Jane, Mike, and Larry, and doing these specific things. And it could be as simple as sending an email out to the team and giving other people credit, because what'll happen is now you'll be at the center of attention and folks will look at you and say, well, I thought Larry was the one who made it done. And Larry's saying, no, I wouldn't have got it done if it wasn't for these people. And then you get an extra bonus at that point, because now people are going to look and say, he's a leader. He knows how to spread credit around. He knows how to work with a team. He knows how to collaborate. All of us, he knows how to market. He's marketing his team. He's not necessarily tooting his own horn, but people are going to look and say, wow, I never really saw Larry in that light before. Mm-hmm. So that's one way to do it. Right?
Yeah, Rick, I've been in those situations where you see the email thread going around, and it's rare that the rest of the team who is getting CC'd, they will almost always bounce it back and start to give you props as well. Right.
Oh,
so
yeah.
you don't have to. So here's the thing, guys, you don't have to toot your horn, like brag about yourself, but you do need to bring attention to it. Okay. And Rick just gave you one of the safest ways to do that. Do it as a team, or anybody that's helped you on any one of your accomplishments, even if it was, it could be the receptionist, anybody, and outside partners, because that's a reality of a lot of today's workforce is
so
other
Pete,
companies.
what I'll say is if the focus is on, people should, my record speaks for itself. Mm-hmm. Okay. And there's a little bit then let's flip it a little bit. And if you believe that your record should speak for itself, then instead of concerning how other people view in your record, go out of your way to congratulate people for their record. I think we're
Yeah.
saying the same thing, but catch people doing things right. Was that
There
Ken
you go.
Blanchard?
Uh,
Well, 1 Minute Manager?
yeah, that's right. Ken Blanchard. Yep.
Catch people doing things right. We know that for our kids, right? When they were growing up, you wanted to catch them doing things right to establish good behavior. Adults are big kids. If someone does something right, you want to catch them for it. You know, um, there's other ways that you could encourage yourself by encouraging other people. It's calling kind of being a giver, being a general giver. Very few people know how to use LinkedIn, specifically the LinkedIn recommendation page, which enables you to post something on someone's site. Now, they have to accept it before it gets posted, but a random act of kindness with specificity and authenticity, an old boss, somebody that reported to you that helped you achieve project success that maybe it developed into a bonus, an end-year bonus, and maybe you haven't spoken to that person in 2 or 3 years. To send a random act of kindness, LinkedIn recommendation, again, it's got to be sincere. 9 times out of 10, they will pretty much accept that and put it on their LinkedIn profile before before you even have a chance to say their name. And they're likely to come to you and say, well, that was really nice, Peter. I don't think I deserve that, but I'm really impressed. How are you doing, Pete? And now the conversation is now opened.
Yeah. Great. Again, guys, this is Rick. He is Rick Diana, consummate networking professional. He knows what he's talking about. And Rick, you just keep talking about leading with generosity to warming up these relationships and giving, and it winds up coming back to you. Awesome. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we'll wrap things up with Rick. So stay tuned. Hi there, Coach Pete here, and I'm so excited to tell you about a new course that we just released, Decoding Your Destiny. Over the past 20 years, I've worked with hundreds of people to curate the very best tools that will help you get more clarity on your life purpose and calling. The course uses 8 very easy to follow short videos and online fillable worksheets that help you record your answers and capture new insights. You're sure to get greater clarity on your life purpose and know specifically how you can make the best difference in the world. Go to petecoaching.com and look for online courses. I can't wait for you to get greater clarity and understanding for your destiny. Hey, welcome back. I'm here with our guest, Rick Diana, and we're talking about networking and how to really highlight the value that you bring so that the people who need what you have can really connect with you. Rick, we're coming down, toward the end of the show here. What's one real important factor people need to remember when we talk about connecting and networking?
Pete, that's a really, really good question. And I think most of the listeners will relate to this. There is this really phenomenal steakhouse in Morristown, New Jersey. I'll give them a plug, Roots Steakhouse. You and me have been there together.
Yep.
And when you walk in through the back entrance, there's a parking garage back there. So it's always easier to park and walk into the back entrance. And you look to your right, there is this wonderful quote from Ronald Reagan. And I've taken a photograph of that mural, 50 times because I want it in my photo roll recently. So if anybody, it's easy for me to find it. And it says, all great change in America begins at the dinner table. There's a lot packed into that. Some may be thinking, boy, the dinner table is a lot different today than it was in 1972. I think we need to get together more with people and invite them out. Not everyone's going to say yes. But if they say no, they may say, why don't we do a Zoom instead? Or can we talk on the phone? So ask for a little bit more because it's really in their best interest to get together with you. So in the breaking of the bread, the dinner table could be anytime, pretty much. I would say from 2:00 on could be the dinner table. Is strive to be with people, to engage and to invite and to have people have a reason. Now, nowadays, a lot of people may actually look for an opportunity to be out a little bit more. You could talk about it's a safe place and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
But it's about It's about the dinner table. It's really where stuff's going to happen. You'll never forget having lunch or dinner with somebody, and it's always something you can go back to and build on.
Okay. Well, Rick, thanks so much. Human connection. If you can have a meal, that's great. If you can't because of distance or COVID, call them on the phone, do a Zoom, get some in personal connection. And you don't have to be super outgoing for that. Just expressing some generosity, and I'm glad to be with you. And I just wanted to connect. That's a great thing. We also talked about potential mindsets that can keep you stuck, like my results should speak for themselves. And we talked about how to get over that, and a great way to promote is to include a whole team. That's a great way to do things. And also give you some practical things on LinkedIn and how to promote that, how to beef that up, get a good picture, get a great intro statement that highlights your value, not just this blah, blah, blah. I'm a consummate professional, results oriented, blah. Absolutely. And then just be generous in offering your own recommendations to folks. It oftentimes comes back to, but even if it doesn't, at least you're doing the right thing. So that's great. All right. I want to repeat our quote for the day. When you learn how much you're worth, you'll stop giving other people discounts. When you learn how much you're worth, you'll stop giving other people discounts. Hey, I want to thank my guest, Rick Diana, for being with us. Rick, this has been great having you. You can even feel the energy as we're talking. Rick, how can people get in touch with you?
Well, I think the best way is definitely visit my LinkedIn page, Rick Diana. There are probably a few others out there, but you'll find me, Trinitas Talent Management, and invite me to your LinkedIn network so we can be a part of that. And I would also like you to look at a group called Extraordinary Job Seekers. I've got some content out there that you could take a look at. There's actually a few videos there. And one of them that I've highlighted is 8 dozen ways to accelerate your job search in 2021. Take a look at those 12 and pick out 2 or 3 that you may be interested in discussing with me. And I will take calls from the first dozen people that reach out to me after introducing themselves on LinkedIn, and spend 30 minutes on a Zoom to talk through those things. I'm happy to do it, Peter.
Okay. Oh, that's great. Rick, I am going to put every link that you just mentioned, I'm going to put it in the show notes on the podcast. So folks, just scroll down through the show notes. You'll see Rick's LinkedIn profile and the group that he was just talking about. That video, I've seen it. It's great. And it'll boost your energy. It'll boost your ideas. And folks, you want to talk to Rick. Trust me. Just spending time with him on the phone, the energy that he provides and the positivity will really help you. Okay. Thanks again, Rick. Great having you here. This has been Coach Pete. Thanks for tuning in today. Remember, you really are God's gift to the world. We need you to be the best version of you that you could be. Bye-bye. Thank you, my friend, for joining me on this episode of Dynamic Destiny. As a reminder, you can get more free tools and downloads at petecoaching.com. Let's continue the discussion. Write to me with your questions and feedback. Ask Pete at petecoaching.com. Be sure to tell your friends, and please leave a 5-star podcast review. I can't wait to have you join me next time on Dynamic Destiny.